Naomi Crawford stood perfectly still in the center of Simone's new beach house, her champagne glass halfway to her lips, frozen in a moment that would shatter her entire world. The sound of laughter and conversation from the housewarming party faded into white noise as her eyes locked onto the silver-framed photograph sitting prominently on the white marble mantel. It was her husband. Trevor's face smiled back at her from the photo, his arm wrapped possessively around Simone's waist, his other hand resting on Simone's stomach in a gesture so intimate it made Naomi's skin crawl. They stood on a beach at sunset, Simone leaning back against Trevor's chest, both of them glowing with the kind of happiness that belonged in wedding announcements. The champagne glass slipped from Naomi's fingers, shattering on the hardwood floor. "Naomi, are you okay?" Simone appeared at her elbow, concern painted across her face, the same face that smiled in that photograph with Naomi's husband. Naomi couldn't speak. Her mind was racing backward through time, connecting dots she had deliberately ignored. Trevor's late nights at the office. The business trips to Miami, San Francisco, Dubai. The new cologne. The gym membership he suddenly cared about. The way he'd pull away when she tried to hold his hand. And Simone. Her best friend of 15 years. The woman who had been her maid of honor. Who came to family dinners. Who Trevor had insisted they hire as Naomi's personal assistant 3 years ago. "I'm so happy you could make it," Simone continued, oblivious or pretending to be. "I know you've been so busy with the company expansion." Naomi forced her eyes away from the photograph and looked at Simone. Really looked at her. The designer dress that cost more than most people made in a month. The diamond bracelet catching the light. The beach house itself worth at least $3 million, sitting on prime California coastline. "The inheritance from your aunt," Naomi heard herself say, her voice sounding distant and hollow. "That's what you said paid for all this." Something flickered in Simone's eyes. Fear? Guilt? It vanished as quickly as it appeared. "Yes, Aunt Martha was very generous. I still can't believe it." Naomi nodded slowly. There had never been an Aunt Martha. She knew that now with sudden, crushing certainty. This house, those diamonds, that dress, they were all paid for with money stolen from her. Money given by Trevor, who had access to their joint accounts, who managed their investments, who she had trusted completely. "I need to use your restroom," Naomi said. "Of course, upstairs, second door on the right." Naomi walked carefully through the crowd of people, most of whom she recognized from her own social circles. Had they all known? Were they laughing at her behind her back? The billionaire tech founder who couldn't see what was happening in her own marriage? She locked herself in the bathroom and gripped the marble countertop, staring at her reflection. At 42, Naomi Crawford was still beautiful, her dark skin smooth, her black hair pulled back in an elegant twist. She had built a software company from nothing, turning it into a billion-dollar empire. She employed 3,000 people. She had been featured on magazine covers, interviewed on news programs, invited to speak at conferences around the world. And she hadn't noticed that her husband was having an affair with her best friend. Naomi pulled out her phone with shaking hands and texted her driver, "Bring the car around. Emergency." She splashed cold water on her face, fixed her lipstick and walked back downstairs. Trevor was supposed to meet her here after his meeting downtown. She couldn't be here when he arrived. She couldn't pretend everything was fine while standing in a house bought with her own money, staring at proof of his betrayal. "Simone," Naomi said, finding her in the kitchen. "I'm so sorry, but something's come up at the office. Crisis with the Tokyo launch. I have to go." "Oh no," and Trevor was on his way. "Should I tell him to meet you at home?" Naomi's smile felt like it might crack her face. "No, let him enjoy the party. I'll see him later." She made it to her car before the tears started. Her driver, Robert, who had worked for her family for 20 years, said nothing as he pulled away from the beach house. He simply raised the privacy screen and let her cry. As they drove through the city toward her mansion in the hills, Naomi's tears stopped. The grief hardened into something cold and sharp. She thought about everything she had given Trevor. She had paid for their wedding, bought their house, given him a position in her company that he wasn't qualified for. She had loved him completely, trusted him absolutely. And he had stolen from her, lied to her, made a fool of her with the one person she had called her best friend. By the time Robert pulled into her circular driveway, Naomi's hands had stopped shaking. She thanked him and walked into her house, a modern masterpiece of glass and steel overlooking the city lights. Trevor wouldn't be home for hours. She had time. Naomi went straight to his office, the room she rarely entered, respecting his privacy. She pulled open desk drawers, finding them mostly empty. She checked the filing cabinet, locked. She knew where he kept the key, had seen him retrieve it countless times. Behind the bookshelf, taped to the back of his college diploma. The cabinet held burner phones. 3 of them. Naomi powered one on, her heart hammering. The messages were all to one number, saved as S. The text went back 2 years. Intimate messages. Photos. Plans to meet at hotels. Discussions about money. About waiting for the inheritance to clear before they made their move. Her grandmother's inheritance. The $200 million that was supposed to transfer to Naomi next month after the estate finished probate. They had been waiting for that money. Planning to take it from her. Naomi carefully photographed everything with her own phone. She found a folder containing financial documents, loans taken out against her properties with her forged signature. Bank statements showing transfers from their joint accounts to an offshore account. This wasn't just an affair. This was systematic theft. She put everything back exactly as she had found it, locked the cabinet, returned the key. Trevor would never know she had been here. Naomi went to her own office and made a call to Harrison Blake, her family's attorney. "Harrison, I need you at my house first thing tomorrow morning. It's urgent. And I need the name of the best private investigator in the state." After she hung up, Naomi walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows and looked out at the city she had conquered. She had built an empire from nothing but intelligence and determination. She had survived her parents' deaths, her grandmother's illness, and every business challenge thrown her way. She would survive this too. But Trevor and Simone wouldn't survive what was coming for them. Naomi slept in the guest room that night, claiming a headache when Trevor finally came home at midnight, smelling of expensive wine and Simone's perfume. She heard him moving through the house, checking his office, satisfying himself that nothing was disturbed. Morning came bright and cold. Naomi was already dressed in her black Armani suit when Trevor stumbled into the kitchen at 7. "Morning," he mumbled, reaching for the coffee she had made. "Sorry about last night. The party ran late." "No problem." Naomi's voice was steady. "How was it?" "Good. Simone's place is really nice. That inheritance really paid off for her." He met her eyes and Naomi saw the lie there, smooth and practiced. How many times had he looked at her like this while hiding the truth? "I'm glad for her," Naomi said. "She's been such a good friend." Trevor smiled and kissed her cheek. "That's what I love about you. You're always happy for other people's success." Naomi's skin crawled where his lips had touched her, but she kept her expression neutral. "I have meetings all day. I'll probably be home late." "Same here. Budget review with the investors." He left first and Naomi watched his car disappear down the driveway. Then she grabbed her phone and called her office. "Julia, clear my schedule for today. Family emergency. I'll be working from home on confidential matters." Harrison Blake arrived at 9 sharp, carrying his leather briefcase and wearing the same concerned expression he'd had when Naomi's parents had died 15 years ago. "Tell me everything," he said. Naomi laid it all out. The photograph. The phones. The financial documents. The offshore account. Harrison took notes, his jaw tightening with each revelation. "This is serious, Naomi. We're talking fraud, forgery, embezzlement. These are criminal charges." "I know. And you want to pursue them?" Naomi met his eyes. "I want them to pay for everything they've done." Harrison nodded. "Then we need to be strategic. No confrontations yet. We build an airtight case first. I'll bring in Patricia Moore. She's the best investigator in the state. She'll document everything. Then we secure your assets, protect your company, and make sure Trevor can't touch anything else." "How long will it take?" "A few weeks if we move fast. Can you pretend everything is normal until then?" Naomi thought about the photograph on Simone's mantle. The smiling faces of 2 people who had betrayed her in the worst possible way. "Yes, I can pretend." Patricia Moore arrived that afternoon, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who radiated competence. She set up surveillance equipment, accessed phone records, and hacked into the offshore account to trace the money trail. "This won't be hard," Patricia said. "They've been sloppy. Too confident. They think you're blind to what's happening." "I was," Naomi admitted. "For too long. You trusted people you loved. That's not a weakness." Patricia packed up her equipment. "I'll have preliminary findings in 48 hours. Naomi spent the rest of the day going through her company's accounts, looking for discrepancies. She found them, payments to vendor companies that didn't exist, approved by Trevor using his position as chief financial officer, a title she had given him because she trusted him. Each discovery was a fresh wound, but Naomi documented everything methodically. She was done being the victim. She was taking back control. Trevor came home at 6 with flowers and a bottle of expensive wine. I thought we could have dinner together. Just us. We haven't had much time lately. Naomi wanted to throw the flowers in his face. Instead she smiled. That sounds perfect. They ate on the terrace, overlooking the city lights. Trevor talked about his day, his plans for the company, his ideas for their future. Every word was a lie wrapped in charm, and Naomi listened with a pleasant expression while her mind catalogued evidence and planned her revenge. Your grandmother's estate should clear probate next month, Trevor said casually, refilling her wine. Have you thought about what you want to do with the inheritance? Some. Maybe expand the company into European markets. What do you think? Trevor's eyes gleamed. I think we should diversify. Real estate, maybe some venture capital investments. I could manage it for you, make sure it's properly invested. That's sweet of you to offer. Naomi raised her glass. To our future. To our future, Trevor echoed, clinking his glass against hers. The next morning Simone called. Hey, I wanted to apologize about the other night. You left so quickly. Just work stress, Naomi said lightly. The Tokyo launch is killing me. I know you're busy, but maybe we could have lunch this week? I feel like we haven't really talked in forever. I'd love that. How about Wednesday? After hanging up, Naomi forwarded the call recording to Patricia. Every interaction was evidence now. Every lie was another nail in their coffin. Patricia's preliminary report arrived by secure email that evening. Naomi read it 3 times, her anger growing with each pass. Trevor and Simone had been together for over 2 years. They had met regularly at a condo Trevor rented under a false name. Simone was 4 months pregnant with Trevor's child. That's what his hand had been resting on in the photograph. They had been siphoning money from Naomi's accounts for 18 months, building up the offshore fund. The beach house was purchased with Naomi's money, put in Simone's name. The report included phone recordings, thanks to the burner phones. Naomi listened to them with headphones, Trevor's voice intimate and loving with Simone in ways he had never been with her. Just a few more weeks, Trevor said in one recording. Once the inheritance clears, I'll ask for the divorce. She'll be so devastated she won't think clearly. We can get at least half of everything, maybe more if we play it right. What if she fights it? Simone asked. She won't. She's too nice. She'll want a clean break. And even if she does fight, we've already moved enough money offshore. We'll be set for life either way. Simone laughed. I can't believe this is really happening. Soon it'll just be us and the baby. I should have left her years ago. I only married her for the money anyway. She's boring in bed, boring at dinner, boring everywhere. You're the one I really love. Naomi turned off the recording. She sat in the dark in her office, breathing slowly. The man she had loved, the man she had shared a bed with for 7 years, had never loved her at all. She had been nothing but a bank account to him. She picked up her phone and texted Harrison, I have everything I need. Let's move forward. His response came immediately, come to my office tomorrow morning. We'll start asset protection protocols. Naomi deleted the messages and walked to her bedroom. Trevor was already asleep, sprawled across the king-sized bed. She looked at him for a long moment, memorizing this before everything changed. Tomorrow she would start dismantling his life the way he had tried to dismantle hers. But she would be smarter, more thorough, more ruthless. She would make sure he lost everything. Patricia Moore sat across from Naomi in Harrison Blake's conference room, spreading photographs and documents across the polished mahogany table like evidence at a crime scene. Harrison took notes on his laptop, his expression growing grimmer with each revelation. The pregnancy is confirmed, Patricia said, sliding a medical record across the table. Simone is 17 weeks along. She's been seeing an obstetrician in Beverly Hills, paying cash for all appointments. But I got the records. Naomi stared at the ultrasound image. Baby. Trevor's baby with another woman. She felt nothing, not sadness, not jealousy, just cold determination. What else? Patricia pulled up a spreadsheet on her tablet. The embezzlement is more extensive than we initially thought. Over the past 18 months, Trevor has stolen approximately $12 million from your accounts. He's been careful, taking amounts small enough that they wouldn't trigger automatic alerts, routing them through fake vendor companies that Simone helped him set up using her access to your systems. 12 million, Naomi repeated softly. The fake vendor companies were brilliant, Patricia admitted. They looked legitimate, proper business registrations, tax IDs, professional websites. But they're all shells. The money goes in, gets transferred to the offshore account, then disappears into investments and purchases. The beach house, luxury cars registered under false names, jewelry, clothes. They've been living like celebrities on your money. Harrison looked up from his notes. The forged signatures are the most serious criminal element. Trevor signed your name on loan applications against your properties. If you hadn't discovered this, those loans would have defaulted, putting your real estate holdings at risk. How did he learn to forge my signature so well? Naomi asked. Practice, Patricia said grimly. I found a notebook in his office with pages of your signature. He's been planning this for a long time. Probably since before you married him. Naomi stood and walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Los Angeles. 7 years ago, she had met Trevor at a charity gala. He had been charming, attentive, interested in her work. He'd pursued her relentlessly and she had been flattered. After years of building her company, of putting work before everything, it had felt good to be wanted. He targeted me, she said. Yes, Harrison confirmed. I did some digging into his background. Trevor's first marriage ended badly. His ex-wife claimed he was after her family's money. She was a lawyer's daughter, nowhere near your wealth level but comfortable. When she cut him off financially, he divorced her. 2 years later, he met you. And I made it so easy for him. Naomi turned back to face them. I paid for everything. I gave him a job he wasn't qualified for. I trusted him with my accounts, my company, my life. You loved him, Harrison said gently. That's not a crime. What he did is. Patricia pulled out another folder. Simone's role is equally calculated. She befriended you in college, stayed close for years, but her financial situation was always precarious. Credit card debt, student loans, a series of failed relationships. When you offered her the assistant position, she saw an opportunity. The affair with Trevor started within months of her being hired. They coordinated it, Naomi said. Yes. Trevor would tell Simone when you'd be traveling, when you'd be working late. She had access to your calendar, your emails, your personal information. She helped him identify which accounts to target, which signatures to forge. She's not just the mistress, she's a co-conspirator. Naomi returned to her seat, her mind working through possibilities and consequences. What's our next step? Harrison opened a leather portfolio. First, we protect your assets. I've prepared documents to move all marital property into an irrevocable trust with you as the sole beneficiary. We'll claim it's for estate planning purposes related to your grandmother's inheritance. Trevor will have to sign, but he will, thinking he'll get half of everything in the divorce. What happens when he learns the truth? By then it'll be too late. The trust documents include a clause that automatically transfers all assets to you if either party is convicted of a crime related to fraud or theft. His own criminal activity will void any claim to your property. Patricia leaned forward. Meanwhile, I'll continue surveillance. I have cameras at the condo where they meet, GPS trackers on both their cars, access to their phone records and emails. Everything they do, every lie they tell, I'm documenting it. I need all of this to be airtight, Naomi said. When I move, I want them to have no defense, no escape route, no possibility of mercy. They won't, Harrison assured her. I'm also bringing in a forensic accountant to trace every dollar. When we're done, we'll have a complete picture of their fraud. The district attorney is already interested. I have a contact there who handles high-profile financial crimes. Criminal charges? Absolutely. Fraud, embezzlement, forgery, these are serious felonies. Trevor could face up to 15 years in federal prison. Simone, as an accomplice, could get 10 years. Naomi imagined Trevor in prison, his charming smile wasted on concrete walls. She imagined Simone in an orange jumpsuit instead of designer clothes. The images gave her satisfaction. There's one more thing, Patricia said hesitantly. Trevor has been in contact with your grandmother's estate attorney. He's been asking about the timeline for the inheritance, trying to understand exactly when the money will be available. He's also been researching divorce law, looking for information about how inheritances are treated in California. He's planning his exit strategy. Yes. I'd estimate he'll file for divorce within a month of the money clearing. He'll have some excuse ready, falling out of love, growing apart, needing space. Something that sounds noble but gets him access to your assets. Naomi pulled out her phone and looked at her calendar. My grandmother's estate clears probate in 3 weeks. $200 million. And Trevor knows it, Harrison said. He's probably counting down the days. Then we have 3 weeks to make sure he never sees a penny of it. Naomi stood. Harrison, prepare the trust documents. Patricia, I want daily updates on their activities. I want to know everywhere they go, everyone they talk to, every lie they tell. What about you? Patricia asked. This is a lot to carry while pretending everything is normal. I've been running a billion-dollar company since I was 27, Naomi said. I can handle pressure. Over the next 2 weeks, Naomi perfected the art of deception. She smiled at Trevor over breakfast. She attended social events with him, her hand in his, her expression loving. She had lunch with Simone, listening to stories about the beach house, pretending to believe the lies about the mythical Aunt Martha. All the while, evidence accumulated. Patricia's surveillance revealed hotel meetings, expensive gifts bought with stolen money, text messages discussing their plans. The forensic accountant traced every fraudulent transaction, building an irrefutable case. Harrison presented the trust documents to Trevor one evening after dinner. Naomi's grandmother's estate is about to clear probate. For tax purposes and asset protection, we recommend putting everything into an irrevocable trust. It's standard for estates of this size. Trevor read through the pages, his eyes gleaming. He thought he was signing documents that would give him access to $200 million. He had no idea he was signing away any claim to Naomi's money forever. Of course, Trevor said smoothly. Whatever's best for our financial future. He signed with a flourish, not bothering to read the fine print that would destroy him. Naomi watched from the doorway, her face expressionless. After Harrison left, Trevor pulled Naomi into his arms. We're going to have an amazing life with that inheritance. We can travel, buy a yacht, maybe get a place in Europe. Sounds wonderful, Naomi murmured against his chest, feeling his heartbeat steady and confident. He had no idea his heart was about to be ripped from his chest. 3 weeks later, Naomi's grandmother's inheritance cleared. $200 million, completely protected in a trust that Trevor could never touch. Naomi stood in her office looking at her bank balance and smiled for the first time in weeks. The money was safe. Her assets were protected. And she had enough evidence to bury both Trevor and Simone for the rest of their lives. It was time to make them pay. Harrison Blake's office smelled like leather and old books, the kind of place where important decisions were made and lives were changed. Naomi sat in the chair across from his desk, Patricia Moore beside her. Both women focused on the strategy that would bring Trevor and Simone to justice. The inheritance cleared yesterday, Harrison confirmed, tapping his computer screen. $200 million completely secure in the trust. Trevor can't touch a cent of it. He doesn't know that yet, Naomi said. Last night he talked about buying a villa in Italy. He showed me real estate listings. Patricia snorted. He's already spending money he thinks he's about to get. Which is perfect for us, Harrison said. His overconfidence will be his downfall. Now, here's what we have so far. He pulled up a presentation on the large screen behind his desk. $12.3 million in confirmed theft. 17 separate instances of forgery. 2 fake companies created to funnel money. 1 beach house purchased with stolen funds. And 1 very pregnant accomplice. Naomi looked at the evidence displayed on the screen. Bank records, forged signatures, email chains, photographs. Each item represented a piece of her life that Trevor and Simone had tried to steal. The district attorney is ready to move forward, Harrison continued. But we need to coordinate everything carefully. Criminal charges, civil suits, and divorce proceedings all need to happen simultaneously. We can't give them time to hide assets or destroy evidence. What's the timeline? Naomi asked. 2 weeks. We need that much time to ensure every document is perfect. Every piece of evidence is admissible in court. Patricia is still gathering surveillance footage that will prove their ongoing conspiracy. Patricia opened her laptop. Last night, I recorded a conversation between Trevor and Simone at the condo. They were discussing exactly how much money they think they'll get when Trevor files for divorce. They're planning to ask for $40 million in the settlement, figuring you'll negotiate down to $20 million just to avoid a messy court battle. They think I'm weak, Naomi said quietly. They think you're kind, Harrison corrected. There's a difference. They've mistaken your generosity for stupidity. Naomi stood and walked to the window looking out at the city. I want them to feel safe right up until the moment their world ends. I want them to think they've won. We can arrange that, Patricia said. In fact, I suggest we help their confidence along. Naomi, you should start acting worried about your marriage. Let Trevor think you're suspecting something but not quite sure. Make him and Simone think they need to accelerate their timeline. Harrison nodded. If they panic and make their move sooner, they'll be even sloppier. More evidence for us. What do you need me to do? Naomi asked. Patricia pulled out a script. Start asking Trevor about his late nights. Question some expenses. Act hurt and confused. If he thinks you're getting suspicious, he'll try to cover his tracks, which will generate more evidence. And he'll probably increase contact with Simone, which means more surveillance footage for us. Meanwhile, Harrison added, I'll have one of my associates leak information to Trevor's lawyer friend, Jeffrey Stanton. Nothing concrete, just hints that you're concerned about the marriage. Trevor will hear about it and think he's running out of time. Psychological warfare, Naomi said. Exactly. We control the battlefield. We control the timeline. We control the information they receive. By the time we're ready to strike, they'll be off balance and desperate. Over the next week, Naomi became a master actress. She asked Trevor about his schedule with just enough suspicion to make him nervous. She questioned a credit card charge at a hotel restaurant. She suggested they see a marriage counselor. Trevor responded exactly as Patricia predicted. He became more attentive, more loving, more desperate to keep Naomi unaware. He brought home flowers. He planned romantic dinners. He talked constantly about their future together. And all the while he was texting Simone in panic. Patricia's surveillance captured everything. We need to move up the timeline, Trevor wrote. She's getting suspicious. We should do it next month instead of waiting. Are you sure? Simone responded. What if she fights the divorce? She won't. She's too emotional. She'll just want it over with. What about the money? Already taken care of. I've been moving it all week. Another $2 million in the offshore account. Even if she freezes the other accounts, we have enough to live on forever. Naomi read the transcripts in Harrison's office, her jaw tight. He stole another $2 million this week? He's panicking, Patricia said. Making mistakes. We've tracked every transaction. It's all evidence. Harrison pulled up a new document. And here's the best part. Trevor just signed a lease on a penthouse condo in Miami. 3 bedrooms, ocean view. He used the offshore account to pay the first year's rent in full. Miami, Naomi repeated. He's planning to run. Once he gets what he thinks is his share of the divorce settlement, he'll disappear with Simone. Start a new life in Florida with the baby. Naomi felt something cold settle in her chest. Trevor had planned to take her money, abandon their marriage, and vanish like she had never mattered at all. I want them arrested before they have a chance to run, Naomi said. They will be, Harrison assured her. The district attorney has already prepared the warrants. Federal agents will execute them the moment we're ready. Patricia closed her laptop. There's one more element we should consider. A public element. What do you mean? Trevor and Simone have been living off your reputation. Your name, your company, your social standing. When this goes public and you'll have control of the narrative. We should think about how you want to reveal their crimes. Naomi thought about the photograph on Simone's mantle. The smiling faces of 2 people who thought they had gotten away with betraying her. I want everyone to know what they did. I want there to be no doubt, no possibility of them playing the victim or claiming I'm vindictive. A public confrontation? Harrison asked. No. Something better. Naomi pulled out her phone and looked at her calendar. Our anniversary is in 2 weeks. We always have a party, invite everyone we know. Let's do it again this year. Make it bigger than ever. Invite business associates, friends, family. Make it a celebration. Patricia smiled slowly. And then dropped the bomb in front of everyone. Exactly. Let them see the evidence. Let them hear the truth. Let Trevor and Simone face immediate consequences with nowhere to hide. Harrison leaned back in his chair. It's risky. Trevor could get violent. No weapons allowed at the party, Naomi said. Plenty of security. And I'll have already filed for divorce and pressed charges. The police can be there to arrest them on sight. You want to destroy them publicly, Harrison said. I want justice publicly, Naomi corrected. They stole from me publicly, lied to me publicly, humiliated me publicly. They just didn't know I would find out. Now everyone will know what they are. Patricia nodded approvingly. I like it. It sends a message. The message is simple, Naomi said. You can't steal from me and get away with it. You can't betray me and face no consequences. Actions have results, and theirs are coming. Harrison began typing notes. All right. Anniversary party in 2 weeks. I'll coordinate with the district attorney. Patricia, you'll have surveillance at the party? Already planning it. Audio, video, everything documented. And Naomi, Harrison looked at her seriously. Are you prepared for how this will feel? Watching their faces when they realize they've lost everything? Naomi thought about the burner phones, the forged signatures, the $12 million stolen from her. She thought about Trevor's voice on the recordings, calling her boring, admitting he'd only married her for money. She thought about Simone's laughter, her fake friendship, her betrayal. "I'm prepared," Naomi said. They made their choices. Now they'll live with the consequences. The plan was set. 2 weeks until the anniversary party. 2 weeks until Trevor and Simone's perfect scheme would collapse around them. 2 weeks until Naomi took back everything they had tried to steal. She left Harrison's office feeling lighter than she had in months. The weight of betrayal still hurt, but the certainty of coming justice made it bearable. Trevor was waiting at home when she arrived, champagne chilling, music playing, looking every inch the devoted husband. "I thought we could celebrate," he said, pouring her a glass. 7 years together. And many more to come. Naomi accepted the glass and smiled. To many more years, she agreed. In 14 days Trevor would be in handcuffs. But tonight he still thought he'd won. Naomi's grandmother had been a formidable woman, building a real estate empire from a single rental property after World War II. She had taught Naomi everything about business, about strength, about never letting anyone diminish her power. When she passed away 6 months ago at 96, Naomi had grieved deeply. Now, standing in the estate attorney's office as the final paperwork was processed, Naomi felt her grandmother's presence like a shield around her. "Everything is in order," the estate attorney, Mr. Chen, said. He was an elderly man who had worked with Naomi's grandmother for 40 years. "The full estate, $200 million in assets, properties, and investments, transfers to you today, Mrs. Crawford." Trevor sat beside Naomi, his hand on her knee, his expression appropriately solemn. Her grandmother was an amazing woman. This is a bittersweet moment. Mr. Chen looked at Trevor with an expression Naomi couldn't quite read. Had her grandmother sensed something wrong about Trevor? Had she seen through his charm? "Your grandmother left specific instructions," Mr. Chen said, sliding a sealed envelope across the desk to Naomi. "She wanted you to read this in private, after the estate had been settled." Naomi took the envelope, feeling the weight of her grandmother's final words. "Thank you." "There's also a trust provision she insisted on," Mr. Chen continued. "Any spouse of yours must sign a post-nuptial agreement confirming that the inheritance is your separate property, not marital property. It's a standard protection for large estates." Trevor's hand tightened on Naomi's knee. "Of course. I would never claim Naomi's inheritance. That's her family money." Mr. Chen produced another document. "Then please sign here, Mr. Crawford." Trevor signed without hesitation, believing he was just going through a formality. He had no idea that Harrison had already moved all marital assets into the protected trust, and this document was one more nail in his coffin, legally confirming he had no claim to any of Naomi's money. After the meeting, Trevor suggested lunch at their favorite restaurant. "We should celebrate. $200 million, Naomi. Do you realize what this means for us?" "Tell me what you think it means," Naomi said, curious to hear his fantasy. "Freedom. We can expand the company globally. Buy properties anywhere we want. Travel for months at a time. Maybe even think about retiring early, spending our time enjoying life instead of working all the time." Naomi listened to him spin dreams with her money, his voice animated and excited. Every word was a lie. He didn't plan to share any of this with her. He planned to take it all and disappear with Simone. "That sounds wonderful," she said softly. At home that evening, Naomi finally opened her grandmother's letter. She sat in her private office, the one room in the house that was entirely hers, and unfolded the handwritten pages. "My dearest Naomi," the letter began in her grandmother's precise script. "If you are reading this, I am gone and you have inherited everything I built. I trust you to use it wisely as you have always been wise beyond your years. But I must tell you something that troubles my spirit. I do not trust your husband. I know you love him and I have kept my peace because you are an adult who makes her own choices. But I have watched Trevor over the years, and I see a man who loves money more than he loves you. I pray I am wrong. I pray that my old woman's suspicions are just that, suspicions. But if I am right, if Trevor ever proves to be the fortune hunter I fear he is, I want you to know that you have the strength to survive his betrayal. You have my strength, your mother's strength, generations of strong women behind you. Do not let anyone steal what you have built. Do not let kindness be mistaken for weakness. And remember that the best revenge is not anger but success. Build something so great that those who betrayed you become footnotes in your story. I love you, my dear girl. You were always my greatest achievement. With all my love, grandmother." Naomi read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down her face. Her grandmother had known. She had seen through Trevor's charm to the greed beneath. And even dying, even in her final words, she had been trying to protect Naomi. "I hear you, grandmother," Naomi whispered to the empty room. "And I'm doing exactly what you taught me to do. I'm protecting what's mine, and I'm making sure they pay for what they've done." She carefully folded the letter and placed it in her safe. Then she called Harrison. "The inheritance is final," she said. Trevor signed the post-nuptial agreement. "Everything is protected." "Good. The anniversary party is in 10 days. Are you ready?" "More ready than I've ever been." The next week was a blur of activity. Trevor became almost manic with excitement about the inheritance. He brought home travel brochures for Italy and France. He talked about buying a yacht. He suggested they look at properties in the Hamptons. And all the while, his phone buzzed constantly with messages from Simone. Patricia's surveillance captured their increasing desperation. Trevor and Simone met almost daily now, discussing their plans, counting their imagined money, shopping for furniture for the Miami penthouse. "I can't believe it's finally happening," Simone said in one recorded conversation. 7 years of playing her assistant, and it's all about to pay off. "You've been patient," Trevor replied. "We both have. But in 2 weeks, we'll ask for the divorce, get the settlement, and be on a plane to Miami before she knows what hit her." "What if she fights it?" "She won't. I'll make it seem like it's mutual, like we just grew apart. She'll be sad but reasonable. That's who she is." "I almost feel bad for her," Simone said. "Don't. She has plenty of money. She'll be fine. We're just taking what we deserve for putting up with her all these years." Naomi listened to the recording in Harrison's office, her face impassive. "They think they deserve my money. They're criminals," Harrison said flatly. "And in 10 days they'll be in custody." The anniversary party invitations went out, elegant cream cards with gold lettering. "Join us in celebrating 7 years of marriage," they read. Naomi had invited 200 people. Business associates, family friends, Trevor's parents, Simone and her family, everyone who knew them. "It's going to be quite a party," Trevor said, admiring the invitations. "Maybe we should use it to announce our big plans for the future." "What plans?" Naomi asked innocently. "Oh, just some ideas I have for expanding the company with the inheritance money. We can discuss it after the party." After the party, Trevor would be under arrest. But Naomi just smiled and nodded. Simone called that afternoon. "The anniversary party is going to be amazing. I can't wait. Should I bring anything?" "Just yourself," Naomi said. "It wouldn't be the same without my best friend there." The words tasted like poison, but Naomi delivered them sweetly. Simone had no idea she was being invited to her own exposure. 3 days before the party, Harrison confirmed that everything was in place. "The district attorney has the warrants. Federal agents will be stationed outside your house. I've hired additional security for the party itself. When you give the signal, they'll move in." "What's the signal?" "Whatever you want it to be." Naomi thought for a moment. "I'll say, I think it's time we told everyone the truth. That's when they arrest them." "You're sure about this?" "Once we start, there's no going back." "There was no going back the moment I saw that photograph," Naomi said. "I'm sure." The night before the party, Trevor tried to be romantic. He lit candles, played soft music, brought Naomi wine. "Tomorrow is special," he said. 7 years together. "I know we've had some rough patches lately, but I love you, Naomi. I really do." Naomi looked at him and saw a stranger. The man she thought she had married had never existed. This was just a con artist who had gotten very good at his role. "I love you too," she lied, because tomorrow it wouldn't matter anymore. Trevor fell asleep early, exhausted from party preparations. Naomi stayed awake, watching the city lights through their bedroom window. Tomorrow her life would change forever. Tomorrow she would expose the betrayal and reclaim her power. Tomorrow Trevor and Simone would learn that some people you should never cross. And one of those people was Naomi Crawford. The anniversary party was perfect. White roses everywhere, champagne flowing, a string quartet playing classical music on the terrace. 200 guests, an elegant evening where mingled through the mansion, admiring the view, congratulating Naomi and Trevor on 7 years of marriage. Naomi wore a midnight blue gown that made her skin glow, her hair swept up in an elegant twist. She moved through the crowd with grace, accepting congratulations, introducing business associates, playing the role of happy wife one final time. Trevor was in his element, charming everyone, his arm around Naomi's waist, talking about their future together. He looked handsome in his tuxedo, every inch the successful businessman married to a billionaire. Simone arrived fashionably late, wearing a designer dress that Naomi recognized from a boutique in Beverly Hills. Paid for with stolen money, no doubt. Her baby bump was just starting to show, hidden under the flowing fabric. "Congratulations," Simone said, hugging Naomi. 7 years. That's amazing. "Thank you for being here," Naomi replied. "It means so much to have my best friend celebrate with us." Simone smiled, completely unsuspecting. She mingled with the guests, accepted compliments on her dress, chatted with Trevor's parents about wedding memories they had fabricated together. Harrison Blake stood near the door, looking like just another guest. Patricia Moore was somewhere in the house with her surveillance team, recording everything. Federal agents waited outside in unmarked cars, ready to move on Naomi's signal. At 8 o'clock, Naomi stepped onto the small stage the party planners had set up for speeches. She tapped her champagne glass with a fork, and the crowd gradually quieted, turning to face her. "Thank you all for coming tonight," Naomi began, her voice steady and clear. 7 years ago, I married Trevor, and I thought I had found my partner for life. Someone who loved me for who I was, not what I had." Trevor smiled at her from the crowd, raising his glass. "Tonight, I want to talk about truth," Naomi continued. "About trust. About what happens when the people closest to you betray that trust in the worst possible way." Trevor's smile faltered. A few guests looked confused. "Trevor, could you come up here, please? And Simone, you too." Simone looked at Trevor, alarm flickering across her face. Trevor climbed the steps to the stage, still maintaining his composure. "What's going on, honey?" "I thought we should tell everyone our news," Naomi said. "You and Simone have been keeping such a big secret." The crowd murmured. Trevor's face went pale. "Naomi, what are you talking about?" Naomi turned to the large screen that had been set up for a slideshow of wedding photos. Instead, it flickered to life, showing bank records, dates and amounts highlighted in red. "You've stolen $12 million from me over the past 18 months. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Trevor's parents stared at the screen in shock. Simone tried to move toward the door, but security personnel blocked her exit. "That's not true," Trevor said, his voice shaking. "Naomi, you're upset about something, but—" "Here are the forged signatures," Naomi continued, clicking to the next slide. Her signature, repeated dozens of times, next to Trevor's practiced forgeries. "You took out loans against my properties, created fake companies to funnel my money into offshore accounts." Trevor's mother made a strangled sound. His father's face was stone. "And Simone," Naomi turned to her former friend who was crying now, mascara running down her face. "You helped him. You used your position as my assistant to give Trevor access to my accounts. You created the fake vendor companies. You participated in defrauding me of millions of dollars." "I didn't know," Simone sobbed. "Trevor said it was legal," he said. "Don't," Naomi's voice cut like ice. "I have recordings of every conversation you had with Trevor. I have surveillance footage of you at the beach house you bought with my money. I have your text messages planning how much money you'd get when Trevor divorced me." The crowd was completely silent now, shocked faces staring at Trevor and Simone. "You're also pregnant with my husband's child," Naomi continued. 4 months along. "Congratulations." Simone's mother let out a cry. Her father looked ready to murder someone. Trevor tried one last play. "Naomi, I can explain all of this. It's not what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like," Naomi interrupted. "You married me for my money. You never loved me. You said I was boring, that you only stayed for the inheritance. You planned to divorce me as soon as my grandmother's money cleared, taking half of everything and running to Miami with Simone." She clicked to another slide showing the Miami penthouse lease. Trevor's face crumbled. "I think it's time we told everyone the truth," Naomi said, giving the signal. Immediately, doors opened and federal agents entered the house, badges displayed. The party guests parted like the Red Sea as agents moved toward the stage. "Trevor Crawford, Simone Williams, you're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement and forgery," the lead agent announced. "You have the right to remain silent." Trevor's parents watched in horror as their son was handcuffed. Simone was sobbing hysterically as female agents placed restraints on her wrists. The baby bump was clearly visible now under her dress as she was led away. The crowd erupted in shocked whispers. Cameras flashed. Reporters who Naomi had specifically invited to witness justice being served. Harrison appeared at Naomi's side as Trevor and Simone were escorted through the mansion. Trevor looked back once, his face a mask of disbelief and rage. Simone just cried. "It's done," Harrison said quietly. "Yes," Naomi agreed, watching them disappear through the front door. It's done. Trevor's mother climbed onto the stage, tears streaming down her face. Naomi, I'm so sorry. We had no idea. If there's anything we can do. There isn't, Naomi said, not unkindly. Trevor made his choices. Now he'll face the consequences. The party cleared out quickly after that, guests uncomfortable with the dramatic turn of events. Within an hour, the mansion was empty except for staff cleaning up and Harrison organizing final documentation. Naomi stood on her terrace looking out at the city lights. Her phone was buzzing constantly, reporters, friends, business associates all wanting statements, explanations, gossip. She turned her phone off. It was over. The performance was done. The masks had been removed. Trevor and Simone were in federal custody, facing years in prison. Naomi felt lighter than she had in months. The weight of betrayal had been replaced with the satisfaction of justice served. Are you all right? Harrison asked, joining her on the terrace. I'm better than all right, Naomi said. For the first time since I saw that photograph, I feel like myself again. The story will be everywhere tomorrow. Good. Let everyone know what they did. Let everyone see that there are consequences for betrayal. Harrison nodded. The district attorney is pleased. With all the evidence we provided, this will be an easy prosecution. Trevor and Simone will both serve significant prison time. How long? Trevor could get 15 years. Simone probably 10. They'll also have to pay restitution, though they don't have the money. Your $12 million is gone, spent on properties and luxuries that will be seized. I don't care about the money, Naomi said. I care about justice. You got it. Naomi turned to face him. Thank you, Harrison. For everything. You and Patricia were incredible. You did the hard part, Harrison said. You kept your composure while your world fell apart. You gathered evidence while living with people who betrayed you. You planned perfect revenge while pretending everything was fine. That takes remarkable strength. My grandmother taught me to be strong. She'd be proud of you. After Harrison left, Naomi walked through her mansion, seeing it with new eyes. Trevor's presence had been erased tonight. His clothes would be donated, his office cleared, his name removed from every account and document. This was her house now. Her life. Her future. And it was going to be magnificent. The morning after the anniversary party, Naomi's exposure of Trevor and Simone was headline news across every platform. Tech billionaire exposes husband's elaborate fraud scheme at anniversary party. Naomi Crawford's dramatic revenge. How a betrayed wife took down her husband and best friend. Caught on camera, the moment Trevor Crawford learned his scheme had failed. Naomi sat in her office, reading the articles while drinking coffee. The story had everything the media loved. Wealth, betrayal, revenge, a dramatic public confrontation. Photos from the party showed Trevor's shocked face, Simone's tears, the federal agents leading them away in handcuffs. Her phone rang constantly. She ignored most calls but answered when Patricia's name appeared. Morning, Patricia said cheerfully. How does it feel to be the most talked about woman in America? Exhausting, Naomi admitted. But satisfying. Trevor and Simone spent the night in federal custody. Their bail hearing is this afternoon. The prosecutor is asking for high bail given the flight risk. Trevor had that lease in Miami, remember? Will they get bail? Probably. Trevor's parents are wealthy enough to post it. But they'll be monitored closely. Ankle bracelets, travel restrictions, the works. Naomi's other line beeped. I have another call coming in. Check the news in about an hour, Patricia said. There's going to be an interesting development. After hanging up, Naomi answered the new call. It was Trevor's mother, Catherine. Naomi, please don't hang up, Catherine said quickly, her voice thick with tears. I need to speak with you. I'm listening. I had no idea. You have to believe me. We never suspected Trevor was capable of something like this. He's our son, but what he did to you is unforgivable. Naomi said nothing, letting Catherine fill the silence. His father and I are going to post bail for him, but only so we can talk to him, try to understand what he was thinking. We're not supporting what he did. We just need to see our son. That's your choice to make, Naomi said neutrally. Is there anything we can do? Any way to make this right? No, Catherine. Trevor made his choices. Now he'll face the consequences. I'm sorry you're caught in the middle of this, but I can't help your son. I understand. Catherine's voice broke. I'm so sorry, Naomi. You deserved so much better than what Trevor gave you. After the call ended, Naomi felt a small pang of sympathy for Trevor's parents. They were decent people who had raised a son who became a criminal. But her sympathy had limits. Her business phone rang, her executive assistant, Julia. Naomi, I have about 50 interview requests from major news networks. How do you want me to handle them? Draft a statement. Keep it simple. I'm grateful that justice is being served. I'm focused on my company and moving forward with my life. No interviews. Got it? Also, your entire leadership team wants to meet with you. They're concerned about company image and investor confidence. Schedule it for this afternoon. And Julia? Thank you for keeping everything running while I dealt with this. Of course. For what it's worth, everyone here is on your side. What Trevor did was horrible. Naomi ended the call and pulled up her company's stock price. It had actually risen 3% since news of the arrests broke. Investors apparently appreciated a CEO who didn't tolerate fraud, even from family members. An hour later, Patricia's interesting development hit the news. Simone's parents had released a statement disowning their daughter and supporting Naomi. We raised Simone to be honest and loyal. We are devastated to learn that she betrayed someone who trusted her and participated in criminal activities. We support the prosecution fully and hope that Naomi Crawford can find peace after this terrible betrayal. The statement was harsh but effective. Simone had no family support now. She was alone, pregnant, and facing a decade in prison. Naomi felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sympathy, just cold detachment. Trevor's bail was set at $5 million. His parents posted it within hours. Simone's bail was set at $2 million, but no one came forward to post it. She remained in custody. That evening, Harrison called with an update. Trevor tried to call you 14 times today. His lawyer wants to negotiate. Negotiate what? He wants you to drop the criminal charges. He's offering to plead guilty to the civil fraud case and pay restitution. His lawyer claims he's willing to give you everything. He has nothing to give me. Everything he stole is gone or will be seized. And I'm not dropping criminal charges. That's what I told them. Trevor's lawyer also mentioned that Trevor is having a breakdown, claiming he really did love you, that the affair was a mistake, that he wants to make things right. Naomi laughed bitterly. Now he loves me? When he's facing prison? Classic manipulation tactic. Don't fall for it. I won't. Anything else? Yes. Simone wants to talk to you. She sent a letter through her public defender. Absolutely not. I figured. I'll inform her lawyer that you have no interest in contact. Over the next 2 weeks, the attempts at reconciliation intensified. Trevor's parents came to Naomi's office building, begging for a meeting. She had security escort them out. Trevor sent letters, which she returned unopened. His lawyer filed motions asking for the charges to be reduced, claiming emotional distress and mental health issues. The prosecutor fought every motion. Friends who had known both Trevor and Naomi reached out, trying to understand what had happened. Naomi was polite but firm. Trevor had committed crimes, evidence was overwhelming, and she was moving forward. The preliminary hearings began. Trevor appeared in court looking disheveled and broken, a far cry from the charming man who had stood beside her at parties. His lawyer argued that Trevor was a first-time offender who deserved leniency. The prosecutor presented the evidence. Millions stolen, signatures forged, a pattern of calculated fraud spanning years. The judge was unmoved by Trevor's tears. Simone, still in custody because no one posted her bail, looked even worse. Pregnancy had made her detention more difficult, and she had none of Trevor's resources for a good lawyer. Her public defender tried to argue that she had been manipulated by Trevor, that she was a victim too. The prosecutor played recordings of Simone laughing about fooling Naomi, planning how to spend the stolen money, mocking her former best friend behind her back. This is not a victim, the prosecutor stated. This is a willing participant in a scheme to defraud Ms. Crawford of millions of dollars. The judge agreed. Both Trevor and Simone would face trial. Naomi attended every hearing, sitting in the gallery with Harrison beside her. She wanted Trevor and Simone to see her there, strong and unbroken. She wanted them to understand that their actions had consequences and that she wouldn't be intimidated or manipulated into mercy. After one hearing, Trevor caught her in the courthouse hallway. Security moved to intervene, but Naomi held up a hand. Please, Trevor said, his voice desperate. Just talk to me for 1 minute. You have nothing to say that I want to hear. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough, but I am. I made terrible choices. I hurt you in ways I can't even comprehend. But I'm still your husband. Doesn't that mean anything? Naomi looked at him coldly. You were never my husband. You were a con artist who played a role. The man I thought I married doesn't exist. I can change. I can be better. Please, Naomi, I'm begging you. Save your begging for the judge, Naomi said. You're going to need it. She walked away, leaving Trevor standing in the hallway with his lawyer, his face crumbling. That night, Naomi stood in her home office, looking at the framed photograph of her grandmother that sat on her desk. I'm doing what you taught me, grandmother. I'm protecting what's mine. I'm showing strength, not weakness. The foundation she had mentioned at the sentencing, a non-profit to help women escape financially abusive situations, was already in development. Naomi had committed $10 million of her own money to fund it. Some people asked why she'd spend money on a foundation after losing $12 million to fraud. Naomi's answer was simple: because no one should be trapped by someone they trusted. Because women need resources to fight back. Because justice isn't just about punishment, it's about prevention. The story continued to generate headlines. Naomi Crawford, the billionaire who had exposed her husband's fraud in the most dramatic way possible, became a symbol of strength and justice. Other women came forward with their own stories of financial abuse, inspired by Naomi's refusal to accept betrayal quietly. But at night, alone in her mansion with Trevor's presence finally erased, Naomi sometimes felt the weight of loneliness. She had been strong, had done everything right, had achieved perfect revenge. But she had still lost 7 years of her life to a lie. The trial was coming. Trevor and Simone would face justice. But Naomi's journey wasn't over yet. She was still healing. Still rebuilding. Still learning to trust herself again. And that would take more than revenge could provide. 6 months after the anniversary party that ended her marriage, Naomi sat in federal court watching Trevor and Simone's trial begin. The courtroom was packed with reporters, legal observers, and curious members of the public who had followed the case through the media. Trevor's high-powered defense attorney, a man named Robert Klein who specialized in white-collar crimes, stood to give his opening statement. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you're going to hear a lot about money over the next few weeks. Large sums, complex transactions, offshore accounts. But what this case is really about is a marriage that fell apart, a business relationship that became confused, and mistakes. Yes, mistakes, made by two people who never intended to hurt anyone. Naomi kept her face neutral, but inside she felt disgust. Mistakes. As if stealing millions of dollars and forging signatures were accidental. The prosecutor, Assistant District Attorney Maria Santos, stood next. She was a sharp woman in her 50s with a reputation for dismantling white-collar criminals. The defense will try to tell you this was all a misunderstanding. Don't believe it. What you're going to see over the course of this trial is a deliberate, calculated scheme to defraud Naomi Crawford of her wealth. You'll see forged signatures, 17 of them. You'll see fake companies created specifically to steal money. You'll hear recordings of the defendants laughing about fooling Ms. Crawford, planning their future with her money. This wasn't a mistake. This was a crime. The first week of trial focused on the financial evidence. Forensic accountants took the stand, walking the jury through the complex web of fake vendors, offshore accounts, and fraudulent transfers. The jury listened intently as experts explained how Trevor had systematically stolen $12 million over 18 months. Trevor's lawyer tried to claim the transactions were legitimate business expenses, but the prosecutor demolished that argument by showing that the vendor companies didn't actually exist. The jury saw business registration documents for companies with no employees, no offices, no history of work. Just bank accounts where money disappeared. Mr. Crawford created an elaborate fiction, the forensic accountant testified. Each of these companies appeared legitimate on paper, but they were shells. The money went in and immediately transferred to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands that Mr. Crawford controlled. When Trevor's lawyer cross-examined, trying to suggest Naomi had known about and approved these transactions, the prosecutor objected immediately. The judge sustained it. The second week brought the forged signatures into focus. A handwriting expert testified, showing side-by-side comparisons of Naomi's real signature and Trevor's forgeries. The forgeries are quite good, the expert admitted. Mr. Crawford clearly practiced extensively. But there are subtle differences in pressure, angle, and stroke order that prove these are not authentic signatures. The prosecutor then entered into evidence the notebook Patricia had found in Trevor's office. Pages and pages of Naomi's signature, practiced over and over like a student learning to write. Mr. Crawford didn't accidentally sign his wife's name, Maria Santos told the jury. He systematically taught himself to forge it so he could steal from her. Trevor's lawyer argued that married couples often sign for each other, that this was a normal part of their relationship. But when Naomi took the stand, she destroyed that defense. "Did you ever give your husband permission to sign your name?" the prosecutor asked. "Never," Naomi stated clearly, looking directly at the jury. "I specifically told Trevor that all documents related to my business and personal finances needed my personal signature. He knew that. We discussed it multiple times." "Did you know Mr. Crawford was taking out loans against your properties?" "I had no idea until I found the documents after seeing evidence of his affair." Trevor's lawyer stood for cross-examination, his expression sympathetic. "Miss Crawford, isn't it true that your marriage had been struggling for some time?" "No. I thought our marriage was fine until I discovered the truth." "You were very busy with your company, weren't you? Working long hours, traveling frequently?" "I worked hard, yes. That doesn't give my husband permission to steal from me." "Did you neglect your marriage?" "Objection," the prosecutor called. "Relevance." "Sustained," the judge said, giving Trevor's lawyer a warning look. "Mr. Klein, the victim's behavior doesn't excuse fraud." Simone's public defender tried a different strategy, painting her client as a victim of Trevor's manipulation. But the prosecutor had recordings that destroyed that narrative. The jury heard Simone's voice laughing about the beach house, planning shopping trips with stolen money, mocking Naomi behind her back, discussing how much money they would get after the divorce. "Does that sound like someone being manipulated?" Maria Santos asked. "Or does that sound like a willing participant enjoying the benefits of fraud?" When Simone took the stand, she tried to claim she hadn't known the money was stolen, that Trevor had told her it was legitimate marital assets he was moving for tax purposes. "Did you question why marital assets were being moved to offshore accounts?" the prosecutor asked. "I trusted Trevor." "Did you question why you were helping to create fake vendor companies?" Trevor said it was for business purposes. "Did you question why you were using your position as Miss Crawford's assistant to access confidential financial information?" Simone's eyes filled with tears. "I thought I was helping Trevor manage their finances." The prosecutor played a recording. Simone's voice, clear and excited. "I can't believe we're actually pulling this off. Naomi has no idea. She trusts me completely." Simone's face crumpled. The jury looked disgusted. Trevor's testimony was even worse for the defense. He tried to claim he had loved Naomi, that the affair with Simone had been a moment of weakness, that he had planned to pay all the money back. "When were you planning to pay it back?" the prosecutor asked. "Before or after you divorced Miss Crawford and moved to Miami?" I hadn't thought that far ahead." "Really?" "Because we have a lease for a Miami penthouse in your name. We have text messages discussing your new life in Florida. We have emails to real estate agents looking at properties. That sounds like someone who thought pretty far ahead." Trevor's lawyer tried to argue that his client was having a mental health crisis, that he hadn't been thinking clearly. But the prosecutor showed that Trevor had been methodical and careful, covering his tracks, creating elaborate fictions, planning years ahead. "This is not mental illness," Maria Santos told the jury in her closing argument. "This is greed. Pure, calculated greed." Trevor Crawford saw Naomi Crawford's wealth as an opportunity. He pursued her, married her, gained her trust, and then systematically robbed her. And Simone Williams, Miss Crawford's supposed best friend, helped him do it. They stole millions. They forged signatures. They created fake companies. They lied every single day for years. And when Miss Crawford's grandmother died, leaving her $200 million, they saw the ultimate prize. They planned to take that money and disappear, leaving Miss Crawford with nothing but betrayal. She turned to look at Trevor and Simone. These defendants gambled that Miss Crawford would never find out. They gambled that even if she did, she'd be too kind to prosecute them. They gambled wrong. Trevor's lawyer made one final plea. "My client made mistakes. He let greed overcome his better judgment. But he's not a career criminal. He's a man who got in over his head and made terrible choices. He deserves a chance to make things right." The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, their faces were serious. "On the count of fraud in the first degree, how do you find?" "Guilty." "On the count of embezzlement?" "Guilty." "On the count of forgery?" "Guilty." The jury found Trevor guilty on all 17 counts. Simone was found guilty on 14 counts. The jury gave her slight leniency on a few charges where her direct involvement was harder to prove, but she was still facing serious prison time. Trevor's face went white. His parents, sitting in the gallery, held each other and cried. Simone sobbed, her hands protective over her now visible pregnancy. Naomi sat still, feeling the weight of justice settle over the courtroom. It was done. They had been found guilty. The jury had seen through every lie and excuse. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Naomi stood at the microphone with Harrison beside her. "Justice has been served today," she said simply. "I want to thank the prosecutors, the jury, and everyone who worked to bring the truth to light. I also want to say to anyone who has been betrayed or defrauded by someone they trusted, you have the right to fight back. You have the right to demand justice. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting yourself." "Miss Crawford, do you have any sympathy for your former husband?" a reporter called out. Naomi looked directly at the camera. "I have sympathy for the man I thought I married. But that man never existed. Trevor Crawford is a criminal who stole from me, lied to me, and tried to destroy me financially. He made his choices. Now he'll live with the consequences." "What about Simone Williams?" "The same applies. She betrayed a 15-year friendship. She helped Trevor steal from me. She participated willingly in fraud. She's not a victim. She's a criminal." "What's next for you?" "I'm moving forward with my life. I'm running my company, building my foundation to help women escape financial abuse, and focusing on the future. Trevor and Simone are my past. They'll stay there." As Naomi walked to her car, she felt lighter than she had in months. The trial was over. The guilty verdicts had been delivered. All that remained was sentencing. And then, finally, she could close this chapter of her life forever. The sentencing hearing took place on a cold morning in February, 8 months after the anniversary party that had exposed Trevor and Simone's crimes. Naomi arrived at the courthouse early, wearing a black suit that projected strength and professionalism. The courtroom filled quickly. Reporters, legal observers, Trevor's parents, and Simone's mother, who looked years older than she had at the trial. Simone herself was now 8 months pregnant, her belly prominent under her prison jumpsuit. She had given birth, and custody would happen within weeks, and the baby would be placed with Simone's mother while Simone served her sentence. Trevor looked thinner, his expensive suits replaced with standard courtroom attire. His lawyer had filed motion after motion asking for leniency, but the judge had denied most of them. This was the end of the road. Judge Ellen Morrison took her seat at the bench, her expression stern. She had presided over the entire trial and had made it clear she didn't appreciate criminals who preyed on people who trusted them. "We're here for sentencing in the matter of United States versus Trevor Crawford and Simone Williams," Judge Morrison began. "Both defendants have been found guilty on multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, and forgery. Before I pronounce sentence, I'll hear from the victims and the defendants. Ms. Crawford, would you like to make a statement?" Naomi stood, walking to the podium. She had prepared these words carefully, wanting to express the full impact of Trevor and Simone's betrayal. "Your Honor, when I married Trevor Crawford 7 years ago, I thought I had found a partner. Someone who loved me for who I was, not what I had. I was wrong. Trevor never loved me. He saw me as an opportunity, a bank account to exploit. He spent years stealing from me, lying to me, and planning to abandon me once he had taken enough." Naomi's voice was steady, but emotion flickered beneath the surface. "Simone Williams was my best friend for 15 years. I trusted her with my personal life, my business, my deepest secrets. She betrayed that trust in the worst possible way. She helped Trevor steal from me. She slept with my husband. She laughed about fooling me." She looked at Trevor and Simone, both of whom had tears running down their faces. The financial theft was terrible. $12 million stolen through fraud and forgery. But the emotional betrayal was worse. They made me doubt myself, question my judgment, wonder if I had been blind or stupid. They stole my ability to trust. I've spent the past year rebuilding my life and my sense of self. I started a foundation to help other women who've been financially abused. I've strengthened my company. I've learned to trust again, carefully and selectively. But the scars Trevor and Simone left will always be there. Your Honor, I ask that you sentence these defendants to the full extent of the law. Not because I'm vindictive, but because they need to understand that there are real consequences for fraud and betrayal. Other potential criminals need to see that you can't steal millions of dollars, forge signatures, and destroy someone's trust without facing justice. Naomi returned to her seat. Harrison squeezed her hand briefly in support. Judge Morrison nodded. "Mr. Crawford, do you wish to make a statement?" Trevor stood shakily, his lawyer beside him. "Your Honor, I want to apologize to Naomi. I know that words can't undo what I did, but I am truly sorry. I made terrible choices driven by greed and selfishness. I betrayed someone who trusted me, who gave me everything I could have wanted in life. I deserve whatever punishment you give me." His voice broke. "I've had a lot of time to think about what I did and why I did it. I told myself I deserved that money because I was married to Naomi, because I helped her company in some way, because I had earned it. But the truth is I was just a thief. A coward who stole from someone who loved me. I know Naomi will never forgive me. I don't deserve her forgiveness. But I hope that someday I can do something to make up for even a fraction of the harm I caused. I'm willing to work for the rest of my life to pay back what I stole. I know it's not enough, but it's all I can offer. Judge Morrison's expression didn't soften. Ms. Williams? Simone struggled to stand, her pregnancy making movement difficult. Your Honor, I'm so ashamed of what I did. Naomi was my best friend. She gave me a job when I needed one, trusted me with important responsibilities. And I betrayed her in the worst way possible. She wiped tears from her face. I got caught up in Trevor's plans. I let greed and selfishness override my morals and my loyalty. I participated in stealing from someone who had only ever been good to me. I destroyed a 15-year friendship for money. I helped Trevor betray his wife. I'm about to have a baby, Simone continued, her hands on her belly. A baby who will grow up knowing his mother is a convicted criminal. That breaks my heart. But it's the consequence of my choices. I accept responsibility for what I did. I'm so sorry, Naomi. I'm so sorry to everyone I hurt. Judge Morrison waited a moment, then began to speak. I've presided over many fraud cases in my career. I've seen defendants show remorse, promise change, beg for mercy. Some of that remorse is genuine. Some is just fear of consequences. She looked at Trevor and Simone. What makes this case particularly egregious is the level of personal betrayal involved. Mr. Crawford, you didn't just steal from a stranger or a business associate. You stole from your wife, someone who loved you, trusted you, built a life with you. You forged her signature 17 times. You created an elaborate scheme to drain her accounts. And you planned to abandon her once you got what you wanted. Ms. Williams, you betrayed a 15-year friendship. You used your position as Ms. Crawford's assistant to facilitate fraud. You participated willingly in this scheme, enjoying the stolen money while pretending to be a loyal friend. Judge Morrison picked up the sentencing documents. The federal sentencing guidelines suggest a range of 8 to 12 years for Mr. Crawford and 6 to 10 years for Ms. Williams. The prosecution has asked for maximum sentences. The defense has asked for leniency. The courtroom held its collective breath. Mr. Trevor Crawford, you are hereby sentenced to 8 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years of supervised release. You are ordered to pay restitution of $12 million to Ms. Crawford, though I understand most of that money has been spent and cannot be recovered. You are permanently barred from serving as an officer or director of any publicly traded company. Trevor's knees buckled. His lawyer held him up. Ms. Simone Williams, you are hereby sentenced to 5 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. You are ordered to pay restitution jointly with Mr. Crawford. Given your pregnancy, you will remain in a medical facility until after you give birth, then be transferred to federal prison. Simone sobbed audibly. Her mother cried in the gallery. I want to be clear, Judge Morrison continued. These sentences reflect the seriousness of your crimes and the calculated nature of your fraud. You didn't make a mistake or have a momentary lapse in judgment. You planned and executed a scheme to steal millions of dollars over the course of years. The fact that you targeted someone who trusted you makes it worse, not better. She looked at Trevor and Simone directly. I hope you use your time in prison to genuinely reflect on your actions and become better people. But whether you do or not, you will serve your sentences fully. There is no early release for fraud. There is no pardon for betrayal. You made choices and now you face consequences. Court is adjourned. The gavel struck and it was done. Trevor and Simone were led away by federal marshals. Trevor looked back at his parents, mouthing, I'm sorry. Simone just cried, her hands still protective over her pregnant belly. Trevor's mother tried to approach Naomi as people filed out of the courtroom. Naomi, please. Harrison stepped between them. Mrs. Crawford has nothing more to say. Please respect her boundaries. Outside the courthouse, Naomi faced the cameras one final time. Justice has been served today. Trevor Crawford will spend 8 years in federal prison. Simone Williams will spend 5 years. They will pay restitution, though the money they stole is mostly gone. But the important thing is that they've been held accountable for their crimes. How do you feel? A reporter called. I feel relief, Naomi said honestly. This chapter of my life is over. I can finally move forward without looking over my shoulder, without wondering if I'll face more betrayal. The legal system worked. Truth won. Do you think 8 years is enough? I think it's appropriate. Trevor and Simone will lose years of their lives, just as I lost years to their lies. They'll have time to think about what they did and why they did it. Whether they use that time productively is up to them. What's next for you? I'm focusing on my company, my foundation, and my life. I'm not defined by what Trevor and Simone did to me. I'm defined by how I responded, with strength, with justice, and with determination to help others who face similar betrayals. As Naomi walked to her car, she felt a chapter closing. The trial was over. Sentencing was complete. Trevor and Simone would spend years behind bars thinking about their choices. And Naomi? She was free. Finally, completely free to build whatever life she wanted, unburdened by lies and betrayal. She drove home to her mansion, now fully redecorated and bearing no trace of Trevor. It was her space now, filled with things she chose, reflecting her taste and her life. That evening, she opened a bottle of expensive wine and toasted her grandmother's photo. I did what you taught me, grandmother. I was strong. I got justice. And I'm still standing. The next day, Naomi would return to work. She would continue building her company and growing her foundation. She would live her life with purpose and strength. But tonight, she simply sat on her terrace, looking at the city lights, feeling the satisfaction of justice served and the promise of a future built on truth instead of lies. She had won. And that victory was sweet. 2 years after the sentencing, Naomi Crawford stood in the new headquarters of the Crawford Foundation for Financial Justice, cutting the ribbon on a building that represented hope for countless women escaping financial abuse. The foundation had grown beyond her wildest expectations. With a permanent endowment of $50 million and a staff of 32 people, they had helped over 800 women escape financially abusive situations, providing legal support, financial counseling, emergency funds, and long-term planning. This building represents more than just office space, Naomi told the assembled crowd of donors, staff, and media. It represents sanctuary. It represents justice. It represents the truth that no one should be trapped by someone they trusted. The crowd applauded. Among them were several women the foundation had helped. Women who had escaped situations similar to Naomi's and rebuilt their lives with the foundation's support. After the ceremony, Naomi met with her foundation director, Angela Martinez, a former family law attorney who had dedicated her career to helping abuse victims. The waiting list is at 200 now, Angela reported. We're helping as many as we can, but the need is enormous. Then we'll expand, Naomi said. I'll commit another 20 million. Open regional offices in 3 more cities this year. Angela smiled. You've built something amazing here, Naomi. You took your worst experience and turned it into hope for others. That's all we can do with pain, Naomi said. Transform it into something meaningful. Naomi's company had also flourished. Crawford Technologies had doubled in value over the past 2 years, expanding into European and Asian markets. The publicity from the trial, while difficult personally, had actually strengthened the company's reputation. Investors appreciated a CEO who demanded integrity and didn't tolerate fraud even from family. But the most significant change in Naomi's life had nothing to do with business or foundations. That evening, Naomi attended a charity gala for the Children's Hospital. She had been invited to speak about the foundation's work and had accepted, though she generally kept a lower public profile now. As she stood at the bar waiting for sparkling water, a man beside her spoke. You're Naomi Crawford. She turned, ready to deliver her polite but distant response she used with strangers. But something about this man's smile made her pause. He looked genuinely friendly, not calculating or impressed by her wealth. I am, she confirmed. I'm James Peterson. I'm a surgeon here at Children's Hospital. I wanted to thank you for your work with the foundation. We had a patient last year. Mother was in an abusive situation, couldn't leave because her husband controlled all the money. Your foundation helped her escape and get back on her feet. Changed both her life and her daughter's life. That's what we're here for, Naomi said, warming to him. How's your patient doing now? Thriving. Mother got a good job, daughter's getting treatment she needs. Happy ending. They talked for 20 minutes and Naomi found herself genuinely enjoying the conversation. James wasn't interested in her wealth or her company. He told funny stories about medical school, talked about his work with underserved communities and made her laugh, really laugh, for the first time in years. I should let you get back to the event, James said eventually. But I wanted to say that what you did, exposing fraud, demanding justice, building something positive from betrayal, that took real courage. A lot of people would have just quietly divorced and moved on. You made sure there were consequences and then helped others. That's admirable. Thank you, Naomi said, surprised by how much his words meant to her. Would you maybe want to have coffee sometime? James asked. I promise not to talk about work the entire time. Naomi hesitated. She hadn't dated anyone since Trevor. The idea of trusting someone new, letting someone into her life, was terrifying. But James had kind eyes. And she couldn't live in fear forever. I'd like that, she said. They exchanged numbers and Naomi felt something she hadn't felt in years, hope. Not desperate hope or naive hope, but the steady, cautious hope of someone who had been hurt but refused to let that hurt define her forever. Over the next 6 months, Naomi and James dated slowly. Coffee turned into dinners, which turned into museum visits and walks through the city. James was patient with her caution, never pushing for more than she was ready to give. He introduced her to his friends, his family, his world as a surgeon who genuinely cared about helping people. And slowly, carefully, Naomi learned to trust again. You're nothing like Trevor, she told James one evening as they sat on her terrace overlooking the city. I hope not, James said with a smile. That guy was a criminal. You're kind. You're genuine. You don't care about my money or my company. You just care about me. Of course I do. You're brilliant, funny, strong. Why wouldn't I care about you? Naomi leaned her head on his shoulder. I didn't think I'd feel this way again. After everything that happened, I thought maybe I was broken somehow. That I'd never be able to trust anyone. You're not broken, James said firmly. You were betrayed by people who didn't deserve you. That's not your fault. And you came through it stronger than ever. Some days I still get angry, Naomi admitted. I think about everything Trevor and Simone took from me. 7 years, $12 million, my ability to trust easily. I think about them in prison and I don't feel sorry for them at all. You don't have to feel sorry for them. They made their choices. Is it wrong that I'm glad they're suffering consequences? It's human. They hurt you terribly. Justice doesn't always have to be accompanied by forgiveness or sympathy. Sometimes justice is just justice. Naomi appreciated that James didn't try to make her feel bad for her anger or push her toward forgiveness she didn't feel. He accepted her exactly as she was, scarred, cautious, but still capable of building something new. A year after they started dating, James proposed during a quiet dinner at Naomi's house. No grand gestures, no public displays, just a heartfelt question from a man who loved her. I know marriage is complicated for you after everything that happened, James said. And I know trusting someone with that level of commitment is scary. But I love you, Naomi. I want to build a life with you. Not because of your money or your company or your success. Because you make me laugh. You challenge me to be better, and I can't imagine my future without you in it. Naomi looked at the simple, elegant ring he offered. Nothing ostentatious, just a symbol of his commitment. She thought about Trevor, about the lies and betrayal. She thought about how James had spent a year proving his trustworthiness through actions, not words. Yes, she said. Yes, I'll marry you. They married quietly 6 months later in a small ceremony with close friends and family. No grand party, no huge guest list. Just people who genuinely cared about them celebrating a real partnership built on trust and respect. As Naomi stood next to James, promising to share her life with him, she felt no fear. This was different. James was different. And she was different too, stronger, wiser, more certain of her worth. After the ceremony, as they walked through the garden of the small venue they'd chosen, James asked, Any regrets? None, Naomi said honestly. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. She had built a billion-dollar company. She had survived betrayal and fought for justice. She had created a foundation that helped hundreds of women escape financial abuse. She had learned to trust again, carefully and selectively. And now she stood at the beginning of a new chapter, one written on her own terms with a partner who saw her as an equal, not an opportunity. Trevor was 4 years into his 8-year sentence, probably regretting every choice that led him there. Simone had given birth to a son she saw only during supervised prison visits. Her 5-year sentence a constant reminder of her betrayal. Naomi rarely thought about them anymore. They were the past, and she had learned that you couldn't build a future while constantly looking backward. That night, standing on her terrace with James beside her, Naomi looked out at the city lights and felt genuine happiness. Not the desperate, clinging happiness of someone afraid it will disappear, but the steady, confident happiness of someone who knows her worth and has built a life that reflects her values. What are you thinking about? James asked. About how I survived, Naomi said. About how I turned the worst betrayal of my life into something meaningful. About how I'm standing here now, stronger than I've ever been, with someone who actually deserves my trust. You did all that yourself, James reminded her. You fought back. You demanded justice. You built the foundation. You learned to trust again. I just got lucky enough to be here to witness it. Naomi smiled. We're both lucky. As they stood together looking at the city, Naomi silently thanked her grandmother for the lessons that had carried her through the darkness. She thanked herself for being strong enough to fight back, smart enough to get justice, and brave enough to trust again. The story of Trevor and Simone's betrayal had become just that, a story. A chapter in her life that was over, closed, finished. It had shaped her, taught her, strengthened her. But it didn't define her. Naomi Crawford was defined by what she built, not by what others tried to take from her. She was defined by her strength in the face of betrayal, her commitment to justice, her determination to help others, and her courage to love again. That was her legacy. And it was beautiful.